A lot of people are just frustrated with not knowing and understanding the technology. The BAKE framework that is school-wide, and this is a bespoke implementation and support for a school who wants to bring this mindset-first approach to their entire district. And Tricia and I are probably going to be working with their entire high school staff, really going deep in how do we look at AI through a mindset-first lens and bring a system forward. All right, welcome back to another episode of Shifting Schools. Tricia, I'm excited. Today is our third and final episode where we're looking at the 3 essential questions that we're trying to answer when we are creating this BAKE approach or BAKE framework, which is a mindset first approach to leading AI literacy in schools. And over the last 2 weeks leading up to now, if you've just catching this episode for the last 2 episodes have focused on our first 2 questions, which the first question was, how do we talk about AI without it turning into an argument? Last week's episode was, what does AI literacy actually look like in classrooms? And today we're going to be focused on trying to look at this question: how do we move forward when staff confidence is all over the place? A new calendar year always invites big questions. What do we want more of? What do we want to leave behind? And how do we want learning and living to actually feel this year?
As January begins, there's a pull towards resets and resolutions, but instead of just adding more goals or more pressure, what if we started the year by making space for creativity and joy? That's exactly what Crayola Creativity Week is about. It's happening from January 26th through February 1st. It's a free global invitation to begin the year differently, with imagination, play, and creative expression at the center. Crayola Creativity Week offers 7 days of simple, hands-on creative experiences with easy-to-use activities, short videos, and resources designed to bring curiosity back into classrooms, homes, and communities.
Because how we start the year matters. Creativity helps us set a tone of possibilities, not perfection. If you're looking for a meaningful way to begin the year with your students and yourself, this is a great place to start. To learn more and sign up, go to Crayola.com/creativityweek. Tricia, I want to start with you and just talk about a little bit. Is there some place, even when we talk about confidence, I feel like there's times where we can start with something outside, and you said this in our last episode too, start outside of our profession. Where is there something you were lower confident in, and through trial and error, through persistence, through learning, the one that comes to mind for you is your pumpkin patch this summer, right? Listeners, you can go back and hear all about the pumpkin patch. But is there something in that as well as just like, how do we get outside of our job, right? And think about confidence and think about where we come at different problems from.
I love this, Jeff, because it's the reminder, we have to step into that beginner's stance again and again through life, right? You are going to be humbled again and again and again if you want to grow. That's part of the human experience. And, you and I kept having different school leaders ask us, what do you do with AI? When it's I've got a few people who are super confident. They are flying super high with this stuff. They know all the tools, versus people that are really intimidated by it. And I love coming back to the reminder of, we're always having that mixed level of confidence whenever we're going after something new. And for me last summer, when I wanted to, take a swing at growing a pumpkin patch, when I'd never done that before, I would say the very first thing is that I recognized and kind of even said, I haven't done this before. It might not work out. And I think teachers often feel like when they are doing a new thing that is connected to their learners, like they have got to get it perfect right out the gate. When actually, I think it's a wonderful opportunity for modeling in terms of, this is something new I'm trying to learn. It might not go well that first time. Very rarely in life are we ever doing something for the first time where like time number 1, day 1, home run, you have got to do some learning. So I think that literally involved for me with the pumpkin patch, getting my hands dirty. And I think when it comes to AI, same thing, you're going to have to decide, am I willing to do some learning, to try a few things out and be humbled? But I would argue that's good for us to be humbled.
Yeah. And I love it because as you're talking, I keep thinking about the quote, progress over perfection. And I think a lot of times we as educators feel like, well, I can't do that yet because it's not perfect. Or if we're really confident in it, we just wing it, right? That's the other side of it. You're just like, oh, I know my stuff or whatever. And I don't even need a lesson plan. I've done this, 15 times now or 15 years, whatever it's been. And we wing it. But I think when our confidence level is low, how do we get to that mindset of progress over perfection? And as a leader, part of what the Bake framework helps and supports is leaders leading with intention around creating a mindset within your staff that allows that confidence to rise. And I think to bring down the stress level, because you talked about this and both of us see this all the time, is I will have school leaders come to me who are frustrated themselves because they're high flying AI people who are frustrated because nobody's moving as fast as them. And then they've got another group of teachers who don't have any confidence in AI, and they're frustrated that people are moving without them, or they're frustrated that change is coming. And so even with people who are taking on AI and maybe leading it in your schools, there's still this frustration that nobody's following, or why doesn't everybody see it the way that I see it? And when that happens, we get into this idea as a leader that you're trying to deal with different confidence levels. And you're in charge of a staff of 30 teachers, 20 teachers, 50 teachers, however big your school is. And you're having to try to manage the confidence level of all of these personalities. I think that's one place where when we go through this and we start thinking about what you can get over at Shifting Schools through the Bake framework, this mindset framework, is supporting leaders in trying to come up with ideas, plans, and talking points around how do we move forward when staff confidence is all over the place, specifically with AI. But again, it could be with anything. And one of the things I keep coming back to that seems to be working for me in my trainings is this idea of almost level setting the foundational knowledge, right? Is we know if you go back to Bloom's taxonomy, right? Knowledge and understanding are at the bottom. Knowledge is one thing, but that understanding label, I'm finding a lot of aha moments in the workshops that I lead when I take a few minutes just to explain how AI works. And that's that understanding level. I can get the confidence of those that are, I'm finding that people who are not confident, a lot of that not being confident is they don't understand it. They know that you go there, you type something in and it spits something out, but they don't understand what's happening. And for a lot of people, that is a way that the confidence just, it's almost like you can't have any. I don't know. Thoughts?
And it's I think if we can remind folks of times they have built confidence up in different areas, it's a good reminder because it's a time thing. Yeah. I mean, anything that you get good at, you've probably improved because you've put in the time.
Yes.
But we know from our own personal hobbies, you're willing to put in that time.
That's right. Because it's passion for you.
If it's a passion for you. And I think part of it is reminding educators and leaders can do this well. What is it about your work as an educator that you love? let's actually take on the perspective of how can AI enhance that thing that you love to do? And I guarantee whatever you love to do as an educator, there is going to be a way that generative AI can enhance that for you. So I think that really focusing it intentionally in that direction also helps people realize like, oh, now I am willing to put the time in because I see how this is going to let me do this thing that I love, that I see as a strength even better. And I think that's where, I think about industries that do change well, or that when new technology comes out, you see a lot of enthusiasm. And this is sports. AI is playing a big role now in sports. You've got so much data, you've got so many patterns that you would like to be able to, we do not have the human capacity to take in millions of pages of PDFs but AI can do that for us. And, if you look at how different sports leagues have really embraced AI, I think it's like, well, we know this is going to help us. But that's been true, I think even as a high school athlete, thinking about the quote technology that my coaches had versus the tech they have today, it's super different. And I think the tension is not quite there because it's like, this is going to help us and we explicitly understand how.
And then we're willing to put in the time to learn it. Right? We're willing to put in the time that, let's use football because it's football season. We're willing to put in the time that if we just went, 3 and out, the quarterback runs over and grabs the, Windows Surface machine and has put in the time that knows exactly what they're looking for. Right? They've worked with the program enough. They've had to learn that at some point so that in the moment they can get the information that they need. Right. But to your point, there has to be with a passion. And when we talk about building people's confidence, I think one of the things I love about AI is it can be personalized to that part. It's one of the things I love about doing trainings with AI is that every person, I always, in all my trainings, you have to be in AI. You can't just stand and talk about this stuff because the output is so personal, as the input should be so personal. And to me, that is where you can start holding trainings as a staff, as a leader. How are you making sure that when you are giving prompts or we're starting to build understanding and knowledge around what AI can do, start with a passion that allows that output to be personalized to the user? That's the power of AI. And I think that's the power in building confidence, both in our staff and then again in students. How many times have we heard students say, I'm not good at math, or I'm not good at science, or name whatever it is? Well, what does that look like when you have a co-learner next to you in AI that can support you in what you feel is something that you struggle with, therefore you have less confidence in it? And I'm wondering if this idea of personalized learning comes to PD.
And I think with that, it's sort of like a lot of schools will have some kind of like social personal challenge. I've seen a lot of schools get into it with Fitbits and say like, we're going to see which department could get the most steps. But that idea of kind of like a community piece around personal goals is really powerful too. I think one of the best ways to develop confidence with AI is to say, like, what is something we're interested in? What's an experiment or a challenge that we can take on? Like, I have kind of a very weird, quirky example. It involves Taylor Swift. I don't know how you feel about her, so I don't know if you want to hear the example or not.
Give it to me.
Okay. All right. Well, we still don't know if Jeff is a Swiftie, but I guess that maybe we'll reveal that in a future episode. Earlier in the year, she was coming out with another album. So I was working with a group and I knew there were several people in there that are hardcore Taylor Swiftie fans, like big time. And I said, we're going to have a little experiment and see. We were learning more about using deep research. What is it that we would have to research? And you've got to really understand copyright and how that interacts with generative AI, because, a big name like Taylor Swift, often as soon as you're asking for something or for it to predict something, it's going to be like, nope, cannot. So what is the research that we could do in order to try to predict a lyric from an upcoming song on the new album? Because we had access to some of the titles that were going to be on the album. What would we want to research from her past albums? What would we want to know about trends in popular culture? And it was a really kind of interesting experiment to play around with, and just how close can we get with this? And how do our research skills, our understanding, our knowledge around research play into us using generative AI to try and predict something that it was super low stakes. It was very, very fun. It was goofy, and we were interested in it.
Do you know? Did you?
We did not predict any. I mean, again, this is where it's sort of the, it is not necessarily a prediction machine in the fact that it's always going to be accurate. Like there's a limit to, as you know, I've tried to play around with it a lot in terms of like, who's going to win this Philadelphia Eagles game? Like there are still chance things that happen, but it was a great conversation around how does a songwriter even evolve? To what extent does the lyrics that they've composed, do they have to break from those norms? So we had a really good conversation around, when we were doing the research after the fact, should we have instead looked at how album to album as a songwriter she changed? Maybe that would have been the more interesting thing.
I like that. And again, the whole point of this is low stakes, fun. And the thing I love about it is, like, even now you're talking about, it's like that. Well, actually what ended up happening is we had more questions. Should we look at it this way? Would it be better to look at the growth of an artist from album to album versus just take all of the lyrics and try to predict what the next ones are going to be?
Totally. And Jeff, the other thing that we took away from that is we were floored at how much academic literature there is out there on Taylor Swift. I mean, you name the discipline, and it's like, it is just astounding, from business to psychology to anthropology to design. I mean, all of it. There were research papers that we were like, I cannot believe this has been studied. So the other, we didn't plan for this, but the other thing that people took away was, this is actually like, wow, I have so many other ideas for how a teacher might do a research project related to Taylor Swift. Because we were like, my gosh, there's like millions of PDFs.
Wow. So cool. I mean, you just never know, right? Again, abundance of information. We live in a world of abundance information. That's not where the learning happens anymore. So
if you're a school leader right now, AI probably feels complicated. You don't want to panic. You don't want to ignore it. And you definitely don't want to lose staff trust by making the wrong call too fast. Great leaders we talk to aren't asking, what AI tool should we use? They're asking instead, how do I lead this well?
Here's the reframe that's helped a lot of schools slow things down in a productive way. AI literacy isn't a rollout problem. It's a leadership puzzle. The schools that are struggling most don't lack policies or platforms. What they're missing is a shared way of thinking when the answers aren't clear yet.
That's exactly why we built a framework we call BAKE. It's not a checklist. It's a mindset-first framework that helps leadership teams make calm, consistent decisions, even while the technology keeps changing. Because it is going to keep changing.
BAKE stands for balance, adaptability, knowledge sharing, and empathy. These 4 mindsets give schools shared language, so teachers aren't guessing and leaders aren't constantly putting out fires.
And here's the good news. We start the way all great learning starts, with questions. In your next conversation, you might want to ask, are we balancing learning and responsibility? Are we staying adaptable? Are we sharing what we're learning? And are we leading with empathy?
You don't need perfect answers to lead AI well. You need a steady leadership stance. BAKE gives schools that stance, so AI literacy becomes thoughtful, humane, and sustainable. This work is supported through Shifting Schools alongside K-12 leaders who want to move forward together without panic and without pretending this is simple. If this sounds like you, you're not behind. You're doing the work of leadership. And we hope that you join us for some BAKE sessions coming soon. We are here talking about how do we move forward when staff confidence is all over the place in our schools around AI. And we're using this BAKE framework that Tricia and I have come up with. The BAKE stands for balance, adaptability, knowledge sharing, and empathy. And once again, Tricia, as we've kind of talked through today, we almost have done this in a backwards design, where we start with empathy, right? Like what we're talking about is being playful, understanding people are coming at this from different starting points. And what I'm finding is no matter what starting point people are coming from at this point, a lot of people are just frustrated with not knowing and understanding the technology. And so we have to come at this from this idea of empathy, like understanding where others are coming from first. Then we move into this idea of knowledge sharing, right? The goal isn't to become an expert. The goal is to be playful, whether it's playing around with something like Taylor Swift, but playing around with something that maybe get outside of education and see how you can use AI. My quick story was last night, needed to make dinner and we were having stir fry. And so I cut up all the things, right? I had the cabbage and the carrots and tofu was fried up and whatever else we had in the fridge, green or bell peppers and I don't know, all kinds of stuff. I took a picture of it with ChatGPT and said, here are my ingredients for stir fry. I need to create a stir fry. Could you help me put this into a wok and, in the right order? And I need a sauce. I don't have a sauce. Sure enough, it comes up with this amazing sauce, soy sauce based, of course, right? But it had oyster sauce in it. It had some rice vinegar in it. It was fantastic. And all of a sudden I'm making a sauce and I'm thinking about the ingredients that are going in it. For me, that was my playfulness last night, right? Is again, getting outside of doing my work, but thinking, where is it that I can learn the edges of this thing? What does it do well? What does it not do? It was very undersalted, by the way, even with all the soy sauce in it. That was one thing I found out because of course it doesn't have taste buds. It just thinks it knows, right? And that's just knowing. But I think that idea of being able to share, when we talk about knowledge sharing, are we sharing our experiences inside of our classrooms and outside of our classrooms? And I love that even in my trainings, I will ask people hey, share one way that you use AI. Almost everybody shares something that wasn't at school. And it's such a great way to get people just thinking about all the different ways we can leverage this. It's not just for writing essays. It's not just for lesson plans. There's so many ways that this technology can be used. Talk a little bit about adaptability. What does that mean from a leader when we talk about how do we move forward with staff confidence all over the place, and then balance?
I think the adaptability piece is realizing the capabilities of all of these tools are in flux a lot. And so when you talked about the knowledge sharing and having people document what they're doing, I always say, make sure you've got the month and the year that you tried that in, because it's fascinating to then, even just 3 months forward, then look at what it can do. And so I think sometimes I also will hear people say something like, oh, we've done a little bit of training. We're good. And this is one of those things where the learning is going to have to be sustained and continued. Right, and, I think in the early days, a lot of people were saying AI will never be able to do something emotional. And I understand why, we would be afraid of that. But to your point, Jeff, of asking people what they're using it for, when you ask teens, inevitably one of them will say it's something around friendship advice, or I needed to be reassured. And so I think if you are one of those people who once said, it's never going to be able to do anything that's emotional, and you look at the data now, that just simply is not true. Oxford had this research come out recently about how persuasive chatbots can be when they are used, in terms of getting people to vote for various parties. To be that persuasive, again, you've got to tap into human emotions. So I think it's really interesting to look at some of the hard truths of what this technology is capable of and realize we have to adapt to that. I keep saying because of that, because of its ability, and there's some real positives, that it can be persuasive. We've seen some good use cases. Of course, there's going to be some bad.
Sure.
But we have to adapt to that reality. And I think this means leaning harder into media literacy and realizing what makes me persuadable. Do I understand that? Do I understand actually when an advertisement is playing on my emotions? Those things are going to become much more relevant because I think again, we're just seeing this technology in places that we weren't seeing it a year ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk a little bit about the balance part. What do you see the balance?
So what you were saying with, we will always inevitably on staff have some people that are high flyers with a skill and others that are more resistant. Balance those things out. Give folks who feel resistant the opportunity to voice their concerns. Give the people that are high flying a space to also share what they're doing. I think when both parties feel like I can share, I am being listened to, people are interested in my perspective, that's key. And I kind of think of like the dog play analogy where you might have a really big dog and a really small dog. You know that their play is healthy if they're taking turns. Like dog behaviorists kind of say their play should look like S's. They're doing that reciprocal. You're the person leading, you're the dog leading the play. Now I am. And it's back and forth and back and forth. And I think you want that balanced dialogue because it benefits both people. You need to be aware of what people are concerned about or worried about. And you also, if you are that concerned person, you need to be aware of what people are discovering is possible with this technology. So where's the balanced conversation? Where are the opportunities to listen and to be heard?
I love that. Tricia, it's been incredible these last 3 episodes going through the BAKE framework, a mindset approach to leading AI literacy in schools. Again, if this is the first episode, you want to go back and listen to the 2 episodes before this, where we talk about our 2 other big essential questions of how we came up with this framework. And again, you're going to want to head over to shiftingschools.com, where we have even more resources over there. You can find them on the front page there and link into them. And right now, what we have set up is we have 4 different ways that you can interact with us. You can just sign up. If you don't have a lot of time, you can sign up for 4 weeks, a 4-week, 4-email campaign. We send you an email once a week that focuses on the framework. It'll have resources in there for you. It'll have something for you to try, a challenge for you to try within leadership around this foundation, around this framework that you might be able to use for yourself and use as you lead others. We also have an opportunity for you for leadership in PLCs. In this one, you can sign up and you will get tools to lead conversations that matter. You will get entire slide decks that we're going to create for you. It's basically a downloadable package that you get to take and try to start leading this idea of a mindset first approach to AI in your schools. If you want to go even deeper, we're going to be running a live bake cohort. I even woke up this morning thinking, how cool would it be if we show up in chef hats, like take on the whole bake theme? So we're going to learn and reflect together. So if you are somebody who likes to learn through cohorts, it's going to be a virtual cohort. We're trying to limit it to about 20 to 30 people. So you can find, again, more information over at shiftingschools.com about that. And then the last one is the BAKE framework that is school-wide. And this is a bespoke implementation and support for a school. We already have one school that it looks like is going to sign up starting next school year, who wants to bring this mindset first approach to their entire district. And Tricia and I are probably going to be working with their entire high school staff around this over multiple different months, multiple different sessions, really going deep in how do we look at AI through a mindset first lens and bring a system forward. So all of those different avenues are available for you. Again, more information over at shiftingschools.com. Tricia, as we kind of wrap up this 3-part series on the BAKE framework, just these 3, we'll be talking about it more in episodes to come for sure. What is your big takeaway from this? As we've kind of we use this podcast for you and I to even brainstorm and kind of bounce ideas off each other. What's your big takeaway as we kind of wrap up this 3-part series?
That a mindset first approach addresses the realities of what it means to lead, what it means to be a part of a school. And that's the hard reality, which is, also like a joyful thing. And that's that we're all different. Anything collaborative is messy. It's complicated. We are never going to be all in the same place at the same time. We're going to have disagreements, but we're still a community. So how do we take that idea of it's messy, it's complicated, it's community, and address it head on? I think that's what a mindset first approach really does, is it gets real about that. And I'm coming back to this idea of human-centered AI literacy has got to acknowledge that, because I think that's also what makes being a human with other humans special and unique, right? So let's not ignore that part of it and realize actually that anytime there's new technology coming into a schools, that human dynamic is going to be a massive character in the way that you move forward together, because you have to do it together. That's key.
I love that. That is such a great way to end this episode. Tricia, it is always a pleasure it's been a pleasure to have been working with you for years, but to just get on a podcast and to just have us go back and forth on this, I think it's great. Again, you can head over to shiftingschools.com for more resources. If you have any feedback on this episode or any of the others, please do reach out. There's a contact form on the website. You can leave a comment on this episode inside Spotify, or I think Apple now allows you to have comments as well. Feel free to do that. Or you can reach out to us, info@shiftingschools.com, Tricia@shiftingschools.com, Jeff@shiftingschools.com. You can email all three if you want, or find one of those and we share all those together. So Tricia, thank you so much. This is part 3 of our series looking at a mindset first approach to leading AI in schools, known as the BAKE framework. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, we'll see you on the network. Thank you for listening to today's podcast. And you probably already know this, but the hardest part of AI in schools isn't the technology, it's leading the change. You're not looking for hype. You're not waiting for a silver bullet, and you're definitely not interested in rolling something out just to say you did. That's the kind of leadership we work with at Shifting Schools.
The BAKE framework exists for leaders like you who get it. Clarity matters more than speed, trust matters more than tools, and pretending that you are certain helps no one. The BAKE framework is not a program you adopt, it's a shared stance you lead from, one that helps your team make sense of AI together without panic. If today's podcast resonated with you, great, you're already doing the work the BAKE framework is designed to support. And if you want language and structure and strategies for the kind of leadership you're already practicing, come learn more about the BAKE framework at shiftingschools.com.